Welcome viewers to our next episode of the Shift series, where we've been talking to industry thought leaders on digital way of key account management. According to Forrester research, 2 out of 3 marketing or sales professionals believe that the biggest challenge that they have is with respect to mapping key decision makers and influencing them. So to talk about it, I have my guest here today, David Shen. He's the head of revenue operations with Cambridge Mobile Telematics. So welcome, David. Really nice to have you with us here today.
Thank you, Karthik. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So David, relationship intelligence is very important aspect when it comes to key account management. So in the new normal, we are seeing that a digital transformation is also a key enabler for a lot of organizations. So how do you actually marry these both together in order to get better insights into each of the accounts and influence the decision makers? So what are your thoughts on that?
Before I dive into the technology and so forth, I want to give you a little bit of overview of what we do.
Sure.
I think that's very relevant.
Yeah.
So we are a B2B to C business. Primarily, we sell software, and part of our business also, there's a hardware component, but primarily SaaS. And we sell telematics solutions to very large companies, such as insurance companies, automotive manufacturers, ride-share services. Just imagine all these companies that in the US, at least, and Europe, they are very, very large. So the decision process is very complex when they purchase a solution like ours. In addition, that our solution a lot of times is being seen as a strategic initiative that a company would take once they decide to purchase a solution like ours, because we really help them to drive growth or reduce costs. So it has such impact on those companies that lots of the purchasing decisions has to be coming from the C-suite. Therefore, just imagine the complexity of that. There can be many influencers, number of decision makers, technical buyers, and so forth. So you probably hear a lot of industry experts nowadays. In a typical large SaaS sales, there are more than a dozen stakeholders involved. I feel like in our business, perhaps there are even more. So a tool was badly needed before we approached you guys, and what we needed was a tool that can help us to visualize the customer's org chart, so we can better understand the customer's organization, their buying process, the influences they have among the stakeholders themselves, so we felt that a tool like what the DemandFarm had was really good. It was just simple to use, and at the same time very useful, very powerful for our business.
Okay. So thanks for setting that context. And it's really fascinating to see such a complex structure, and number of decision makers were involved in that, and how the sales team is handling it. So with this context, so when you actually go forward and bring together a digital tool to map key decision makers, relationship maps, what are some of the factors that organizations need to consider when taking that step towards it?
So first and foremost, it's we use Salesforce.com for everything, and I think I have been using Salesforce.com in a number of companies, and I find my company is one of those has the best adoption in terms of embedding sales process scoring system and so forth in Salesforce. So so we live and breathe in Salesforce. Let's put it that way. And the ability to integrate in Salesforce was very important. And the way that DemandFarm or / org chart working, integrated with our Salesforce instance is almost seamless. That it's embedded. You don't feel like, okay, this is a third party product. Actually, we look at it almost as if it's come from Salesforce. So the user experience is pretty good. And then of course the ease of use is one of the most critical factors for us. When I select a tool, the most important part is, there are many tools out there, all right? And everybody thinks their tool can transform an organization, help you to sell more, sell faster, and so forth. But the truth is, the tool has to be used by the users. So another thing I find, for me, it doesn't have to be the best and shiniest. It's really, can we use it? And are people comfortable using it? Is it easy to learn and easy to operate? So again, it really, I find org chart, the adoption of, at my team has been very high because of it. It's easy to use, easy to understand, and with minimal training, at least I think most of the functionalities that already, the people can easily grasp and understand. This is like the iPhone, it has many functionalities, but if you do a couple of things well, I'm happy. So that's I think as important as the first factor. So those are the two things that I typically look at.
So that's a nice analogy that you gave about the iPhone and the ease of basically using it. So one other challenge that we typically see in this is the adoption itself, especially when you're moving to a digital tool. So what are some of the challenges which in your organization that you encountered while implementing this, if any, and how would you go about championing the usage?
Yeah, so as I mentioned in your in the last question, that my company's adoption of Salesforce was very high, but still there's always room for improvement, and including using the tool. I mean, in Salesforce also there are a lot of things that you constantly need to improve, right? The data quality and so forth. So what we do is we truly use the first and foremost, using the accounts, contact, opportunity every single day, right? And then the thing is, for our salespeople, that one thing that I drive home with them is using the tool, like org chart, is that you're not going to remember everything. Especially in this digital world, that everything is remote. You need to document everything in one place that you can share with others. And in the old days, you probably can put everything on a whiteboard and take a picture and share with people, right? But here, again, the tool becomes the whiteboard, right? We strategize on it and so forth. And then in terms of another layer of enhancing the adoption is that we have, as an organization, we have a very rigorous deal review process. So one of the first things that I have always done, very early on in every deal review is, well, John, can you pull up the org chart? Let's talk about all the stakeholders. Have you, what's your relationship with them? Who's influencing whom? Who are the decision makers? The economic buyers, who your champions, and so forth. When you laid all that out, you really crystallize where you are in the deal. Actually, you really kind of, as a sales organization, we really embedded that the into our sales process, and hence, it's a feedback loop, right? And forcing people, initially, really kind of forcing people that using the tool, and over time, they feel like they cannot live without it. It's really helped them to accelerate their deals, and making, and selling bigger deals.
Yeah. So basically, I wanted to check, by using a digital tool like the org chart and mapping the stakeholders right. How has it helped you from mining these accounts better or converting your key accounts better?
It's, well, first, it forces you to have that honest conversation internally, right? Who is who? Do you know that person? And also, remember that one of the functionalities I love is that when you hover over, I'm getting a little bit deep into the technical stuff. That you hover over the contact, you really can see the interaction you have with that person, right? You really kind of putting people on the spot, saying, okay, well, you say this person is your champion, but is this person a real champion for you? Just giving that as an example. And like, as an organization, we use MATIC, challenger sales and challenger customer sales methodologies, and we embedded them into our sales process, like as I mentioned earlier. So understanding the customer organization is a big part of those methodologies as well. So every time we conduct deal review or any conversation around accounts, account strategy, trying to sell into the customers, this is a tool that is front and center, really. So we feel, just again, it's such a powerful tool. It's simple, but in our business, it doesn't have to be too complex. It's in sales is very basic, tackling blocking, and again, this is a tool that agile enough, basic enough, helping us to run our business very effectively.
So like I mentioned in the beginning, there are a lot of organizations who are actually grappling with this decision of saying, do I need to bring in a tool to map our contacts better and convert? So what are some tips that you would like to share with them for people who are still on the fence and need to make this shift?
Yeah, I think, I cannot speak for more transactional businesses, but I have had exposure to those kind of business before. But in the B2B business, for sales team who use challenger sales methodology, for example, this is a very good investment. It's worthwhile investment, because a lot of sales leaders say that sales business is human business, and without understanding the human dynamics of your target organization, you're going to fail. True. Right? True. And a lot of in today's world, there is not a whole lot of parity, especially in a more transparent and competitive field, that the technology perhaps is not as important. What you're offering may not be, it's more and more commoditized. But how to differentiate yourself is your ability to sell. My company in particular, that we are a very strong sales organization. As a startup, we were able to sell to companies like Progressive Insurance. I don't know if you heard of those companies, Geico and so forth. I mean, a lot of that was partly technology we offered, but also partly that our ability to sell into those organizations. So the any advantage the salespeople can get, it's can differentiate yourself against your competitors. It's well investment. And I think personally that, I think economically, that org chart, it's very reasonably priced for us. I mean, that's another small factor, it just made my purchasing decision a lot easier at the very beginning, and I feel like the return on investment has been great. It's definitely worthwhile investment from my point of view.
So we're really glad that DemandFarm has been a good partner in this journey and enabled you to achieve these business benefits. So in a nutshell, I think David, with what you have shared, is one, digital is a no-brainer. I think technology will be at the core of what any function that you operate in, and especially when it comes to relationship mapping and relationship intelligence. If I know you gave the example of putting it on a whiteboard, taking a shot and sending it, vis-a-vis doing it on the tool itself in a better way. I think that's going to give a lot more insights, a lot more transparency in the review process itself, and have more honest conversations, like you said, about each of the accounts, which can help salespeople convert these accounts better and thereby accelerate their business growth. So David, thanks again for your time. Really loved our conversation, and I'm sure the listeners out there also had a lot of things to take away from this.
Yep, I hope so. And it has been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
Thanks. Take care.